And welcome into Morning Brew with Jaffe and Razor. This time we come to you right after the Boston Bruins play the Washington Capitals New Year's Eve day matinee. They lose 3-1 to the Washington Capitals. A good game. We'll talk about that in just another minute or two. The Bruins lose, and they finish calendar year 2024 in the nation's capital, and they get set to head to New York for a game in 2 days. As always, Morning Brew with Jaffe and Razor is proudly presented by Fazenda Coffee, and Fazenda Coffee is located right here in the Boston suburbs, in the Dedham area. Go check out fazendacoffee.com/morningbrew. You can get the Morning Brew blend, you can get the Morning Brew hat or the Clean Canteen travel or mug, or you can also just check out all of the other great coffee items that Fazenda has. They do both retail and wholesale. They're a trusted partner for cafes, bakeries, and restaurants, and they also can be your at-home personal trusted coffee partner as well. Check out fazendacoffee.com, the lead sponsor of Morning Brew with Jaffe and Razor. All right, Razor, and who doesn't need perhaps a little extra Fazenda heading into New Year's Eve celebration? You know what? The Bruins seem to have their coffee. They had their coffee legs, their hockey legs early on in this one. And I'm just going to say it's not a silver lining that they played well, but it was nice to see that they did at even strength handle this game with the Washington Capitals very well. We'll get into the issues with the power play in a moment. But overall, you look at it and you say, right, pretty darn good game.
It was, a loss is a loss in this league, and it's all about the scoreboard. But it was a well played hockey game, and they came out ready. They carried the play for the most part, 5-on-5. I thought so again, the last time they were on the road, it was bad coming off of Christmas, and now they've got this 3-game little trip to 3 pretty good places to play and 3 pretty good opponents. And I thought the first one was good. It's if you watch 50 NHL games a week or highlights, Billy, and this happens. These are, teams lose some nights when they're just well played games, and this was one of those nights, I think, for the Bruins.
Razor, you mentioned this is the start of a little throaty. They go to Washington, where they played this afternoon. Then in 2 days, January 2nd, they take on the New York Rangers. It's Madison Square Garden. And then 2 days after that, they head up to Toronto to take on the Maple Leafs, who have been playing pretty darn good hockey right now. In fact, the Maple Leafs also played today. They won this afternoon. They beat the New York Islanders 3-1. So they continue to play well and are above the Bruins in the Atlantic. Razor, you also mentioned coming out of Christmas, they didn't play well. We did do a show after that game where they got hammered. They got beat 6-2. Was not an easy game per se, but regardless, we talked about that. They didn't play well. What we didn't do was a show after the next night. Razor was on the road. We had some things going on, and they beat Columbus 4-0, and they bounced back well, and that balanced out the previous night. They did start on time, just like they did today against Washington, but against Columbus. And I think it's just worth mentioning. We're not going to go through that game like we normally do, like we will go through a bit of this Washington game. But in that Columbus game, it felt like they never gave Columbus a chance to feel decent about themselves. They were going against a goaltender in Daniil Tarasov, who hadn't played in 3-4 weeks. Who's been struggling, and they never gave him a chance really to feel good about himself. He didn't help himself either with a bad rebound, I felt, early on in that game that Brazeau ends up scoring on. But after that, the Bruins kept doing their thing, and easier said than done. But you know what? I guess the positive is that they responded the right way after the shelling the night before.
Yeah, it really was. That was a pretty predetermined 50-50, I think, going into that. And again, we talked about it. The loss is really, really bad if you don't respond. The loss is manageable and a scheduled one if you do. So they did respond. They got those points. They played the right way. And again, now we've seen 2 games played the right way. They've given up 2 goals in the last 2 games, not counting the empty netter. And again, that'll lend to more wins than not in this league and in the second half.
Under Joe Sacco, the Bruins now are 12-6-1 with the loss this afternoon to the Washington Capitals. They've scored 54 goals. They've given up 49. And again, there's been an empty netter and two in there as today, but 54 to 49. So it's been a bit better. They're still working on some things. And the biggest thing that they're going to have to work on, in my opinion, is the power play. They were 0 for 2 in this game. And I know you and I had a nice discussion post-game on Ness and listened about it. And you said, it's just, I'm paraphrasing here, and you can tell me if I get it wrong, but you're like, it's just 0-2, meaning 0 for 2. It wasn't like they were 0 for 6.
That we've seen. Yeah.
That we've seen that too. But my contention is this, and you can debunk or argue me whatever you want. In a game that what you would not call that, well, first of all, the Bruins were very fortunate to get those 2 power plays, Razor. Actually, there could have been a penalty called against Chychrun early in the game, trip on, it was McAvoy, I believe, and he did take him down. That wasn't called. So maybe the Bruins have balanced out. They got one that shouldn't have been, because neither of the 2 penalty calls were really good calls that the officials made. All right, it's going to happen. But then the Bruins couldn't take advantage of it. And with that said, because this wasn't a high-volume, penalty-filled game, and maybe not the highest chance game as well, you've got to take advantage of those power plays as much as if it was an 0 for 6 night. That's my contention there. And what did the Bruins have? 1 shot on goal on the 2 power plays that got through, and it never felt like it made Washington uncomfortable, or at least having to feel uncomfortable killing those penalties.
Yeah, no, and they won't. I mean, again, you have a 13% power play. You're just not going to make anybody uncomfortable, and that's kind of, we've talked about this. We've mentioned this a few times, where when you're facing the best goaltender on the planet, you seem to miss the net a little bit more. Well, when you have the best power play in the world, the team gives you a little bit more room, and when you have the worst power play in the league, you don't get any room, because everybody is smelling blood in the water, and that's where the Bruins are at.
And Carberry breaches that too. He does. That's his MO on the PK.
And that's kind of the worst way for the Bruins to deal with, the worst kind of penalty kill right now to deal with, because they just don't have that extra pass to make to break pressure. So again, my thing, and you're right. The power play has to score big goals in these kind of games, in these tight scoring games. That's what they've done for the last 10 years at the top of the league, and playoff time. We know that as well as anybody, that power play, 1 or 2 opportunities you get a period, you have to bury them. I think they played a good game today, and the power play, yes, was 0 for 2, but there's just been so many nights we've smoked this team and their power play that today just, it seemed piling on a little bit. That's where I was coming from. That's all.
Okay. Well, so it wasn't egregious, but I mean, it was noticeable, like in the sense of it
wasn't good. Yeah. It's not a
good power play.
Yeah. It's not good. And they switched things up again today. And, and that's, again, it's kind of the same idea, right? When something's not good, like when a team has bad goaltending, you say they have bad goaltending every game, right? Like it's just the way it happens. Like every goal is a bad goal, and that's where this power play unit's at. If they don't score, it's not a good power play. It's not a good opportunity. That's unfortunately where they've found themselves.
All right. We saw Washington score a power play goal. We saw it up the stick of Jacob Chychrun, who we talked again about on Ness, and is having a monster season for this team. 11 goals now for Jacob Chychrun. And he's setting himself up for a huge payday. He absolutely is. Here's a guy that a lot of people kept saying, oh, he's got all this potential. He's got the look. Everybody talked about, he looks the part. He's a beast. He can skate beautifully. He's one of those guys. He's ripped. He's strong as an ox. But he didn't always come through with what would be considered consistently efficient, great play when he was with Arizona, where he really didn't have a lot of pressure on him per se. And then he gets traded to Ottawa. That didn't last long, but he's having I would call it a breakthrough season with the Washington Capitals. And it's coincidence or not, he's up for a huge contract after this year. He scores the power play goal from the right side to make it 2-1. And we'll go through the game, but I want to get to this since we're talking power play. He's been running the power play along with John Carlson this year, especially when Ovechkin was out. In fact, their power play Razor got better when Alex Ovechkin was out of the lineup. for those, what was it, 6 weeks almost. Does it come down to the fact that the Bruins don't have a dynamic guy running the power play for them? Is that the biggest issue you think for them right now, in that they don't have that kind of that threat to, like we saw it with Werenski the night where he had 4 assists, where the maneuverability, the ability to open up lanes, the instinct to shoot, etc. They've seen McAvoy and Lowryer been the main guys up top, but more than just those two guys in general, is that the biggest thing for the Bruins, Razor, that's what they're missing?
I think so. I think they don't have a real definitive second shot threat. Of course, 88's the threat.
Mm-hmm.
But when the Bruins were at the best, they had Berge on the bumper shot threat. We'll go back to Zdeno Chara on the power. It was
Torrey
shot
Krug.
Threat. Torrey Krug shot threat. Brad Marchand hasn't become a shot threat, but he has in years past, where he scored. How many goals has Brad scored in his career like Chychrun did today, where he just comes off the wall and he rips it short side bar and in? We haven't seen that this season. It hasn't got enough room there. So yeah, I think it is as simple as that. I'm pulling up the Providence stuff. If you're watching me on YouTube, you see me on my phone. I was trying to get to the Providence Bruins power play. They have 2 defensemen that have scored 1 goal each. They don't have any threats down there that can hammer the puck. And again, I do feel, I said in the green room tonight, I do feel like we're starting to see the Hampus Lindholm, his ability. He does have an ability to power play. He's been on the power play his entire career. I'm not saying he's Quinn Hughes back there, but he can shoot it. He can wrist it. He can find different seams. I know David doesn't like it as much. It's a different shot, different place where the puck's coming from.
Well,
on
it's
the
a
left
lefty.
side.
It's a lefty to a righty shot.
A little different, but we've seen at times where Hampus can go on that power play and be effective, and they not having that option hurts it as well. But if it was a shopping list, you would probably think that the Bruins in a power play specialist type would be helpful. Look at Shaddy. Like, he came in last year in the playoffs to be that power play guy when it struggled.
Yeah. You're right, and I think that would a guy who is a threat not only to shoot but also with the instinct to move. It's amazing how a half a second or a second makes all the difference in the world, right? I think it would alleviate pressure on other guys, but also it would encourage more puck movement. The other thing is, when they move the puck, boy, there's been times this year where it either unfortunately or misfortune bounces off their sticks, or their details aren't good. Those two as well. I don't think they have the overall instinct to zip the puck around. I think, like we've seen other teams with those high quality power plays do that, and that just forces the defenders to then have to stay more to the middle to protect that inside ice. If you start zipping it around and you get 2 or 3 guys caught outside the dots, you're screwed as a PKer. And the Bruins, we haven't seen that created an awful lot. So there's no question that it has to be something that if this team is going to do, I think, I'm not going to put words in your mouth, something significant, that area of the game has to be helped. It doesn't have to be 30%. It just can't be 13%. It just can't be. It can be get it to 18% on the season.
Well, no, that's it. They could do what they're doing and just get one of those goals that Chychrun scored every 10 attempts, and they're drastically better. It's just drastically better. That's the difference. It's the 1 goal a week that makes the difference between 110 points and 100 points in this league.
Let's quickly go through the game, as we like to do here on Morning Brew with Jaffe and Razor. The Bruins do start on time, despite the 12:30 start and the 10 a.m. arrival, and eggs and bacon and pancakes over pasta. That's different than, it's amazing how 12:30, and I know this is going to sound obvious, it's a half an hour earlier than a 1 o'clock game. That leads you that much more to the breakfast food. It absolutely does. I mean, it's no question. And you're on the road too. That's the other thing. At home, you may have more choices. I don't know. You're on the road. You're in the hotel. I don't know. You got to go breakfast in the hotel. You got to go breakfast, don't you? I mean,
yeah, 100%. Yeah, anytime you can switch up chicken and pasta and rice and beans and whatever you eat, 82 times a year, You switch it up, and this is the morning, afternoons. That's the best part of an afternoon game,
I
other
mean,
than being done at 4:30.
right. I mean, if you get free reign, I love breakfast. I love food in general. You know that. I think the fans know that. But if you get free reign, to have like one of those all-you-can-eat moments, to me, it would be either breakfast food or dinner food. Lunch food, kind of pregame meal food, wouldn't be where if I, like you said, your point about having a chance to go off the menu. I'm going for pancakes. Heck, you can load it up with bananas and blueberries. And yes, I mean, if I was in shape and didn't have to worry about losing 15, 20 pounds, I'd be loading up on the bacon as well. I mean, before a game, how bad could that be? Maybe. I'm sure Julie Nicoletti might have an issue with me eating that
turkey bacon. It's always turkey bacon. It's turkey bacon. You can have turkey bacon. It's kind of basically, if you mix it with the eggs and the French toast, it all tastes the same
protein.
Anyways. Yeah.
Right. But I would load up on that too. I would. And you know what? Give me a little sugar high with a little extra pure maple syrup on that. All right, I'm hungry now. Good news is I'm going out to dinner in a little while. All right, but the Bruins do start on time. They must have had good meal. 1:21 into the game, Justin Brazeau pops his second goal in a game in a row goal, his 9th on the season. Razor assist from Parker Wotherspoon, who took the puck up the middle of the ice off the breakout, then kind of shifted over to the left and looked to hammer it around for a rim around. The puck hit the stanchion, hit something, and it bounces off of the goaltender Logan Thompson's right leg. A very unfortunate if you're a Cap fan, incredibly fortunate if you're a Bruin fan. Karam Thompson thinks like he's almost like pushed back into his post there, into his crease under the post, like it's going to rim around. And all of a sudden he does a whoa moment, hits his right pad. Brazeau's busting down the middle of the ice, gets it on his stick and puts it right past Logan Thompson for a 1-0 lead. We talked about in the intermission. Yes, it's a fortuitous bounce. But, the right play is made by Brazeau, Razor, driving middle ice and having a stick on the ice to get the puck.
No, and exactly. And he's been doing so many of the right things. And the Bruins did it right. They came out of the gates cooking. You get breaks like that when you do that. You make your own breaks in this league. And to Brazeau's credit, not everybody in the league gets their stick on that and finds a way for the puck to go in the net. He had great hands. You mentioned his stick being right along the ice. That allowed him the opportunity to score that. And again, when you're going to the front of the net on a consistent basis in this league, you go through a few stretches where pucks hit you and find you and they go in the net. And you have to credit Brazeau for doing that. And he's steady Eddie, right? Like we're gonna get through 2 more games through the half of the season. We're gonna look at on a day-to-day basis and what Brazeau's done. It's been a bright side for this team, no question.
I mean, could he get
20 goals?
Asking, could he get 20?
If
he gets 20, and anybody out there's like, well, but he's not a good enough this, or he's not a good enough
hard
that.
Stop, right? It's a hard stop.
Yeah, exactly. Like
it's a hard stop. 20's 20.
Like
for a guy,
like you talk guy making league minimum in his first full year in the NHL, getting 20 goals. If capital I, capital F.
Well,
pretty good.
He's pacing for it, so we can do
he
that.
Is.
Like it's not like he has 5, and we're like, oh, he's playing really good. He'll get 15. No, he does the same thing in the second half. He's a 20-goal guy, and you're not. Yeah, you can't debate anything from that.
So it's 1-0 for a while. About 10 minutes later, though, the Washington Capitals are going to tie it up. The Bruins, though, with some really good 5-on-5 play, some opportunities in that first period. And it's going to be the big kid, Lysell Protivas, gets his 15th goal of the season. Dubois and Wilson with the assist. It actually started with a play at the offensive blue line. Bruins had the puck in. Carlos' pass from right to left doesn't connect. I think it was low right. And it doesn't. They go back down the ice. Eventually gets deep into the Bruins zone. Gets behind the net off to the blocker side. So the left wing offensive side of the Washington Capitals. Dubois is going to end up getting. The Bruins are there with their sticks and bodies, but they don't clear the puck. There's Kastelik low. There's Carlo low. It was lower, I think, on Dubois as well. Am I correct? Am I remembering correct? Thank you for nodding your head for those not watching. And then Dubois gets it below the goal line, makes a beautiful pass to Protivas, who's all of 6 feet away from the net, and he sweeps it pretty much past the glove of Swayman, who you talked about, and I'll let you go into detail on it. He had gone down, paddled down with the puck behind the net there. Protas ties the game up at 1. Was that the wrong play for Jeremy Swayman, or just he's got to do that there and it's going to happen type of play?
No. Yeah. So, and just to get back to the goal in general, that was the ultimate goal in October, start of November from this team, right? They give up the puck in the offensive zone. They have bad neutral zone. They give up the line. They end up in their zone. They miss the puck, and it ends up in their net very, very quickly.
That was their first lost detail shift, by the way, of this game.
Correct.
It was.
Yeah, and on top of it, just like the goal, the lost detail goal that we just haven't seen too many of this month. And Sway, from the goalie perspective, so puck's behind the net, you don't want to reach on trying to take a pass out and away from in front of the net. If you reach a little bit, it throws all your balance off. You have no power to push off the post. You kind of get stuck for a split second. And in this case, and credit credit Dubois, credit the Russian kid, the big boy Protas, to find way to get away from that stick. Swayman reaches, tries to take the pass out away. It's just out of his reach, but so it gets on Protas' stick and it's in the back of the net while Swayman's trying to get back up against the post. So not necessarily hindsight, a poor selection, but just kind of a misplay and a misread where that forward was out in front of the net. Could have been because the Protas is so long, like he didn't expect his stick to be that far off the side of the net.
Well, it was a good shot when he realized. Trust me, as a forward, you see the goalie down like that. You're like, I can see top corner. I can see that area open. That's he was going there the whole time. Swayman's down. He knows that short side is covered. If he's going to place it way up top short side, that would have been even a harder shot. But anyways, he sweeps it by. He risks it by him. Makes it a 1-1 game. 5 minutes later, 17-11 to be exact, is when Jacob Chychrun scores that goal that Razor and I talked about. It's on the power play. Kastelik was the one who went off for high sticking on that play 15 seconds earlier. I think it was 15 seconds earlier. Yeah. So you hate the penalty in the offensive zone, Razor. It wasn't intentional. It wasn't careless, but it happens. But you just, you just don't like it right there. Kastelik gets called. Jacob Chychrun scores his 11th. Strome and Carlson with the assist. Shots at the end of 1, 10 for the Bruins, 11 for the Caps. And it wasn't the Caps Bruins were up significantly in shots for a while until later in the period when the Caps started coming back. So it's 2-1 after 1. It ends up saying 2-1 after 2 as well. The Bruins did get away a bit from their game. It wasn't awful, but as Joe Sacco said, too much east-west, not enough of what we were doing early in the game. They get outshot 8-6 in that second period, but no goal scored for either squad. You go to the third period, the Bruins do. And by the way, in the second period, that's where the Bruins had the power plays. You had the Roy penalty and then the Chychrun penalty. Roy was for interference, tripping on Jacob Chychrun. Then you go into the third period, no goals scored until the end. It's an empty net goal. Protas again, he gets the empty netter. I'll tell you what, I'm going to give Nick Dowd a heck of a lot of credit winning that faceoff, and then Tom Wilson coming in. Faceoff was on the left wing offensive side for the Bruins, and the right shot centerman Elias Lindholm was in there trying to win the draw back, try and set up some kind of a one-timer or a play. Meanwhile, Dowd ends up winning it, and Wilson comes in. As soon as Wilson gets it, he hits Protas, who's extending the zone. Protas ends up getting the goal. That finishes the scoring. Shots were 11-8 in favor of Boston in that period. They tie in shots, 27 each in this game. And again, the power plays, Boston 0 for 2, 1 shot on goal. Capitals 1 for 2 in the game. So that's your game recap. And we've got a couple of other things to go to before we both get to New Year's Eve here. Let's quickly, though, first recognize our sponsors for this morning brew with Jaffe and Razor. And one company that has been with us all year who is helping build the greater Boston area, literally helping build them and make it even more beautiful than it is Graciano Construction. Razor, these people over at Graciano Construction, they do it all. They will help you refresh and revitalize your space no matter what you want to do. Bathrooms, kitchens, porches, full renos, painting, even garages. There's nothing that Graciano Construction can't do. They do it with pride and amazing professionalism. Reach out to Doug Graciano at 508-330-7589 or go to GracianoConstruction.com RTNRealty.com. And you can set up a time to get a discussion, whether he comes to your place or just over the phone, a consultation to what you're looking to do. GracianoConstruction.com. The new year is upon us. Duh, literally, not figuratively. It is literally upon us. You know what that means, Razor? It's going to be happening in about 3 months. Rental season, and then spring house sales, right? Well, if that's the case, now is the time to start lining up your realtor, and you got to look to RTN Realty. If you're looking to buy, sell, or lease a place in Mass, Rhode Island, or New Hampshire, RTN Realty has got you covered for all your real estate needs. Chris Gentile and his staff of 16 have got you covered. They handle all types of real estates. The best part is they do it with no high pressure and some other agencies do. Reach out to Chris directly at cgentile@rtnrealty.com or call him at 617-835-0845. Again, 617-835-0845. Tell him the guys from Morning Brew with Jaffe and Razor recommended him. He does a fantastic job, as does the rest of his crew. The real estate market is ever changing. That is an understatement. You need somebody you can trust. Check out Chris Gentile at rtnrealty.com. Give us an Apex most entertaining moment of this game. What do you got?
Well, unfortunately, it's the Brazeau goal. That was the first 2 minutes of the game. There weren't, and that's okay, but it wasn't that much of an entertaining game. There wasn't a whole lot of excitement. You mentioned in the building didn't seem like there was a lot of excitement. It seemed very calm before the storm.
I wonder if it was. I wonder if it was. Like, did it translate through, not translate through TV or not? I don't know. To me, it just felt kind of calm and composed. It wasn't a high event game. There weren't any scraps, but sometimes maybe Razor, it just doesn't translate. I'm not sure.
Yeah, sometimes it doesn't, depending on the building. And
did you like that building as a player?
No, the dressing room sucks. The
facilities
suck. It's so tight. Really, like, as a goalie, there's no room to get dressed, and you're piled on top of each other. Going out to the bench stinks. Sitting in the bench stinks. So, not a lot to really like. Just getting out of the parking lot was always a pain in the ass. You sit there, and so I'm glad to hear they're spending $800 million on it. Hopefully they do the visiting dressing room first.
It's going to be one of the things. Yes, folks, they are starting a full renovation. They're not tearing it down, but over $800 million to spend on that place and to help revitalize, like Graciano Construction does, that area as well, the Chinatown area. It's fun. If we had an Apex most entertaining moment, maybe from the previous game, it would be maybe David Pasternak's breakaway, that goal that he scored. That was pretty sweet. Apex Entertainment, 100,000 square feet of pure fun. Go check out apexentertainment.com. Apex Entertainment in Marlboro. All right, a couple things to get to before we wrap this one up, partner. I've talked to you about this before, and I'm going to have to talk to you about it again. All right, first of all, before we get to Trent Frederick, let's just quickly address we did it in pregame, but the Fabian Lysell recall and then sent down. Let's do it because we did it on Nesson. I don't know if people saw it or not. So he brought up for the game against Columbus. It's beautiful. Families there. Everything goes well. He plays very solid game, right? Not extraordinary, but didn't look out of place. Okay, on the ice, line gets a goal, Brazeau gets the goal, etc. Then he gets sent down, and that's fine as far as I'm concerned. It's great that he came up. It's awesome that he did well, but this has happened an awful lot throughout the history of the National Hockey League. I think it had something to do, obviously, with the team that they were playing, and Joe Sacco talked about it as well. But you know what? The other thing is, too, you're looking at it, you're saying, hey, look, this just worked out beautifully. Get yourself up here. Now you know what it looks like, feels like, tastes like at this regular season NHL game. And let's make the next time you come up, you'll stay even longer because you've earned it, but you still got to do some other things. There's nothing wrong with what they did. And I know there were some people on social media that were befuddled and disappointed by it, but this would not have been the right matchup against the Washington Capitals for Fabian Lysell. Not yet.
Well, and whether it's the matchup or who they're playing, or it's the right thing to reward him. He's had a pretty good first half. He's had a great last couple of weeks by all accounts. And listen, they're talking to the coaches in Providence every game. They're talking to them every practice. There's people down there watching, and they're waiting for the right time for some of these guys to find their spot. And it was Lysell's spot. The family being in town is a huge bonus to not only the player and the family, but the organization to be able to make it special for everybody. That is good. That's a good organization that brings these things into consideration. That's a good organization that allows, if they call Lysell up in the middle of February on a Tuesday at 3 p.m. for his game that night, that's not so good. Like he's
still thrilled about it, but this makes the moment even grander.
The thing that guys talk about the most about their first NHL game is seeing their family after the game and having their parents or their, like, how many times we've seen DeBrusk and his dad in the crowd cry, like, and he played in the NHL. Like, this is the most, just as important. And Lysell said it after the game as well. I'm rambling a little bit. I'll tighten it up. But he said after the game, the most important part is it's about them. This game's about them more than me at that point. And that's what guys really matter. So that's a huge piece of it. And then on top of it, now you've seen it. Now you've actually seen it. You might have thought preseason was a joke at times, and you've seen the real thing now. Go to the minors and continue to get better. The big thing with this Capitals team's a perfect time to talk about it because they've done it, and they're a great team right now because of their young guys and the way they develop these young guys. Connor McMichael, I talked about it. Don't have my notes, but I'm going to give you close to what the numbers are. 68 games in the NHL. He had 16 points. First round pick, too. First round pick, folks. Same thing.
2021. Same draft, right?
Correct. So 22, 23. Plays 23, 24. He goes to the minors and plays in Hershey, folks. He only plays 6 games after playing 68 in the NHL. He goes to 66 games and plays 58 games in the minors, folks. Then he comes up, and now he's really effective. Now, there's a lot in Bruins social media that would say that's a complete failure. After 68 games, a first-round pick, what a bust. He's in the minors. No, he's back now, producing and contributing in a major way for the best team in the National Hockey League. This is how you develop, folks. This is how it works. The NHL is not given to you. It just isn't.
Same thing with Protivas, too. Now, he's been up a little bit more, but he had to go back and re-educate, re-marinate, so to speak, in the minors. Went down, and they both won an AHL championship for Hershey.
Correct.
And so that's part of it. Now, Fabian Lysell, he'll be back up. He will be. I'm going to throw out a hypothetical, probably unfair, because that's more sports talk radio than what we do here, but I'll still ask you, if the Bruins had won the night before in Columbus, instead of gotten, thumped, do you think he gets called up? Do you think he does? He had a great night the night before. He had a goal and 2 assists. He had 3 points. Do you think he does? I don't have the answer to it. I would say if they had won and they had played well, probably not.
It's probably not. It's hard to change the lineup when you win in this league. So no, all things kind of worked and combined together. Perfectly. And they thought, what can we do to switch? Oh, this is a perfect time. It just I'm sure they weren't thinking about it the day on the 26th, but it all came together perfectly on the night of 27. And all right, let's do it.
And they didn't call him until 1:00. He didn't find out till 1:00 on the 28th.
Yeah.
So you could tell that it was a process that they went through. They thought about it after. They thought about doing something after they got dumped. They had to. There's no way that management was looking at that. I know it's a tough game, but still, you're like, we got it, guys. We got to be better than that. And then they saw him have 3 points, and they figured this is awesome. This is the great time to do it, and they did it. Good for him, and it worked. All right. Speaking of another former first-round pick, Trent Frederick. I talked to you about him on the last show we did as well. Still not doing a lot. Played 15 and a half minutes against the Caps. 2 for 6 in the face-off circle. He didn't have any shots in the last game. At least this game he had 1. They're trying to work him through this, but they put Koepke on the left, that helped increase the speed of the line. And, Koepke's been in the league a couple of years now. He's playing a very straight line game, doesn't try and be something that he isn't. Brazeau, it gets put over to the right flank instead of the left flank. again, is this third line? I mean, on the one hand, they did some pretty damn good shifts out
They were
there.
the best line
They
tonight in their
they
defense. Like tonight, they just in today's, they were the best line today
So
from
do you
front to
just
back.
keep giving it to Fred? When I mean giving it, meaning the reps to Trent, hey, to work him through this. He scored a couple of goals against Philly. Geez, I don't even have it in front of me. Weeks ago now. And it hasn't been anything since. And I'm not picking, I'm just talking about, this is a massive, we always talk about how good teams have two good lines and then they have two other solid lines. Very good teams have obviously a third line that makes a difference. And, they're trying to make him, it looks like the center of that line. You just keep kind of forcing him, not force feeding him in a bad way, but saying you got to work yourself through this right now, Razor.
Well, again, they have to know if they're going to sign him. They have to know if and they've put a lot of investment in this kid. You don't like it. This is a massive investment that this team's put in. You bring up the first round, but he's been here. He's been in the minors. He's come up. He's worked his way through, and he paid off last year. And you want to make sure you know what you have in the player. And again, you need more, and you feel bad for him in a way, and that he just hasn't had things click for him. And you have to be, as an organization, not just us, but as the organization, you have to be pulling for him. And you're trying to put him in a situation where he gets a little bit more, but also doesn't get more discouraged, if that's even possible. And just hope a fire gets lit here in the second half where you can feel validated in your investment and in sticking with him, and he pays off for you, and you can have him be a part of your organization for a long time still. Because again, no one says a bad word about he's the nicest guy, and he's exactly a character kid that you want. He wants it really bad, but it's not going that way right now, and you have to make a decision on him sooner than later. So I just think they're trying to really make sure and try and give them all the, again, not leave any stone unturned when having to make a decision on them.
It's just, it's an incredibly important position on the team, that third line center spot. It is. Now, Charlie Coyle was the guy, and for a long time, and we all know, we don't need to revisit history from years ago when the Bruins were at their tops. He was, that was almost an impossible matchup for somebody else on another team with him at the 3C slot. But right now he's needed on the right side with Marchand and Lindholm, and it looks good. It's not, that's not forced. That looks good right now. He doesn't have to take faceoffs either there. He didn't take any faceoffs the other night. He took one this afternoon. By the way, Elias Lindholm, 16 wins, 12 losses, 57%. Another game, well over 50% for Elias, who's, taking obviously the brunt of the faceoffs. That's what he's about. But anyways, Coyle's on that right side, and it looks good there, and it works there. So that third line center spot is open. Are we at the point? I'll ask you again. Here's the theoreticals. We get close to wrap this one up. Do you start looking at maybe game to game and say, hey, this could be a good matchup for a Matty Poitras? Are you at that point? They're going on the road. They play the Rangers on Thursday. Do you consider that? You got back-to-backs this week. You got Toronto, then the Islanders. I don't know. Again, we don't know the situation, what they said. You brought it up a week ago about Poitras. They might have told them, go down there for 3 months or whatever, 2 months, and be the best damn player down there and keep putting up points like you're doing and everything. We have no idea. We're just pontificating here. But do you consider that for maybe a game coming up? Maybe trying to, move a guy like him into that 3C spot?
My guess is no. That's my guess. I don't I don't see it. I don't think that, again, I just think that they want to develop him, and they don't need to mess around. And you also have salary cap implications with that, right? Like bringing guys up and sending guys down costs money every day, and you need those extra dollars at the end. So you don't really want to change your lineup unless you absolutely have to. And so no, I don't know. I don't think we see Poitras up here for a while still. That's
okay. All right.
Never know.
All right, it's going to wrap up this morning brew with Jaffe and Razor. Bruins play Thursday in the rain on the and Madison Square Garden. Saturday in Toronto. Sunday at home against the Islanders. I know this for sure. We will have another new episode after the Ranger game and then after the Toronto game. I think we're taking after the Islander game off. I'm pretty sure that we are. If I remember that correctly. But for sure, Ranger game coming up. That's all that matters right now. Just know that we'll be doing Morning Brew with Jaffe and Razor after the Bruins take on the New York Rangers, a team that is struggling mightily. 4-15-0, 4 wins, 15 losses in their last 19 games. What a soap opera happening in New York. All right. Most importantly, plans. What your New Year's Eve plans? What do you got?
Oh, I got nothing. I know everybody's at the movies right now. My older kid's not even in the country. So I don't know what's going on, but we didn't have any plans when I came here earlier today. So on the couch.
That'll be nice.
Yeah.
That'll be very nice.
Will be.
When is the last time you went out for New Year's? And I mean out, not going to a friend's house and sitting and, watch on a couch and drinking. Do you even remember
probably that? Out. I mean, not, and this might, probably 2005 or 2006, probably.
Where'd you go? Do you remember?
I know I went out in Toronto. Of course, all my buddies dragged me out, so I'd pay for everything back then. And that was that would have been 07. So I know I took them out in 07. And I don't remember 08. I don't remember 09. Erin was pregnant. And then that would have been it. I wouldn't have gone out when I had kids. So I think it was 07.
Yeah. I cannot remember last time I went out. I can tell you a few times in Chicago. Absolutely. When I had no responsibilities, but I never still don't have no interest in the whole, the line
more and everything else. No. I know in Toronto, I hooked it up with my buddy's place that I wasn't paying much more than I usually would have to get everybody in. But yeah, it's $400 for, it's just a joke. The whole thing is not mine.
Yeah, no, I know. It's a force-fed night.
Yeah,
we're going to dinner in about 2.5 hours. That will be nice. I thoroughly hope to be home by 10 o'clock, 9:30 to 10 o'clock.
That's your win.
Will be great. That would be a win. And then get some sleep tomorrow. All right, folks, we wish you a happy and healthy, prosperous new year. RC, Ryan, thank you for everything as always. We wish you, especially my friend, a wonderful 2025. Thanks for all you do for Morning Brew with Jaffe and Razor. We appreciate it. We couldn't do it without you. Bruins lose 3-1. Good game, but let's see if they can rebound right away after a day off. By the way, the Bruins will have Tuesday night, New Year's Eve night in New York City.
They're probably in the city already.
They've touched down probably about right now from Washington there. It'll be very interesting to see if some guys had some fun with it. I can imagine there's a ton of shit to do there on New Year's Eve, but also a ton of not stuff to do there.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it would not be it. All right, we will talk to you after Thursday's game against the New York Rangers. Everybody, again, Happy New Year. Have a wonderful night. Be safe, be smart. We will talk to you in a couple of days. And you know what? Tomorrow morning you're going to need another cup of coffee. Most of you probably, right? Well, make sure it's Fazenda. Enjoy your coffee.